Good morning.
Good
So we'll
morning,
have
sir.
a discussion about one scenario. The scenario will be a post-op patient having pyrexia, and Dr. Professor Utpal De, who is professor of surgery at NS Medical College, will take us through the scenario, and we'll have discussion on the management of patient having uh, post-op pyrexia and the ward round format. Okay, so Dr. Devan Chaudhary, who is a junior resident at RKM, will present.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Divine, you can read the scenario and then wait for the discussion. Yeah.
45 years gentleman underwent right hemicolectomy for CA cecum. On third post-op day, patient is complaining of fever. How will you proceed to evaluate this patient? Okay, sir.
Okay, so this is a 45-year gentleman who had undergone right hemicolectomy for CAC cup, right? Third post-op day, patient is complaining of fever. Now, so you have gone to the ward and you have found that it is a third post-operative day, the patient is complaining of fever. So can you tell me what are the things you are going to evaluate in this patient? What are the important things you will consider before you start evaluating this patient?
Okay, sir. First, when we go to the patient, we will see what
Now, what's in
drugs.
your mind? What's in your mind? Dr. Day has asked before you evaluate the patient, what
Okay,
are
sir.
the possibilities that this scenario may be, and then you start thinking and evaluating the patient.
Okay, sir. On the third post-op there, the most common cause of fever is basically a chest infection or pneumonia. So
No,
that we have,
do you feel that we call this as pneumonia? Pneumonia is something else, isn't it?
yes, but
So what do we exactly use the term? What is the exact term?
atelectasis, atelectasis, sir.
Yeah, right. So it is atelectasis. So
Exactly.
day 3, post-operative day, it's atelectasis.
Atelectasis.
Okay, now before you diagnose the case, what are the things? Will you just go and diagnose it? It may be due to something else also. So
Yes, sir.
what is
We
the
will.
important things you will consider? What are the factors you will consider before you make a diagnosis?
Yes, sir. First, I will do a thorough checkup of the patient. For example, I will do airway and breathing. I will see the airway and breathing. Then I will see the circulatory parameters, the vitals of the patient, whether any tubings, if the patient may have a central venous catheter or may have a catheter uh, in situ, Foley's catheter is in situ. So we will see those
So
cases.
do you feel insertion of a Foley's catheter will cause fever right on the third post-operative day?
Uh, Usually UTI may sometimes occur on the third to fourth post-operative day, most commonly. Uh, uh, it can be a cause, sir. It can be a cause.
See, okay. Now, okay. So you say you will see. Will you consider the nature of fever? Can you tell me what are the different types of fever that a surgeon may encounter in the post-operative, in a post-operative case? What are the different types of fever the surgeon may encounter?
Sir,
So time, you said time. Time is one important factor.
yes,
I
sir.
agree to that. Okay. So
Hmm.
next is the nature of the fever. So what kind of fever do you expect?
So it may be a continuous fever, or
Achha,
it.
before I come to this discussion on cause, can you
Yes, sir.
tell me a definition of what is post-operative fever?
Yes, sir. Post-operative fever means temperature of more than 100.4 degrees Celsius, degree
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit on 2 consecutive days, or one episode of fever more than 104.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
102.4, not 4.4.
102. 102.
102.4, exactly, sir.
Yeah, right.
102.4.
Okay, very good. So when we see and even after any operation, if you go and find that the patient is feeling feverish, isn't it? So we
Yes, sir.
won't consider it as a post-operative fever. So to get into the criteria of post-operative fever, he has to have any two of these, right? So That is one. So time is one. Temperature is the second thing. Okay. Now the nature of fever. So fever can be, now tell me what are the types of fever we usually encounter.
It may be a continuous fever or it may be an intermittent fever, sir.
Continuous fever, intermittent fever. But then these are, isn't the more related to medicine than to
okay, sir. Okay, sir. In our case, in atelectasis, we usually have a low grade of fever where the patient does not complain about much. That usually goes away after we give incentive spirometry or chest physiotherapy or in the proper position.
So we have a low grade fever. That is
yes,
one.
Low
Okay,
grade fever.
Next.
Or in case of UTI, where we get a very high grade fever.
With high grade fever
with chills, sir. With chills.
Chills and
rigor, sir.
So you have to mention all these adjectives. They go. Okay. Now tell me what are the causes of chills and fevers, fever with chills and rigors in a surgical patient. Can you tell me the causes?
Sir, UTI is one of the cause, and
are there important surgical causes? Patient had a hemicolectomy done. What do you can think of?
Sir, it may be due to bacteremia and SIRS, sir. SIRS and maybe
don't go too much into the complex things. Okay, I'll ask you about SIRS. I know that you have come read and come about SARS, so don't worry. I'll ask you that. But now tell me, what is the common cause?
Sir, it may be an abscess, sir. It may be an wound infection.
Yeah, right. So it may be an abscess. Okay. So abscess and UTI. These are the very common causes of fever with chills and rigors. Okay. Okay. Next. Next, when you this is the third post-operative. So I told you three things. One is time of the fever, appearance of fever. Next is if there are any associated symptoms with that fever, that gives us a clue as to what the fever is likely due to, right?
Yes, sir.
And
yes,
the
sir.
third is the temperature that the patient is having.
Yes.
Okay. So now what will you do with this patient?
I will ask for any other symptoms, associated symptoms if the patient has. I will say, for example, the patient has a dyspnea or something, then it will point to something else. Or if, say, the patient has a diarrhea or a foul-smelling stool, that will point to something else. Sir. So associated symptoms I will ask for. Then I will.
So what are the things you will clinically see in this patient? Clinically, what are the things you are going to observe?
I will do a thorough checkup of the patient.
That is what I am asking you. What thorough checkup will you do?
Yes, sir. I will see what type of surgery has been done on the patient, what type of incision has been given, what drugs are.
Before you go to that, you'll do a general survey of this patient, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So measure the temperature.
Yes,
next, what else are you going to see?
Sir, if there is tachycardia or not, what is the respiratory rate?
So tachycardia. So when will you call that, what means about what heart rate do you think that this temperature is really related to that?
Sir, greater than 90.
Okay, very good. So if the heart rate is greater than 90, so then you can correlate temperature with the heart rate. Anything else? Will you see the respiratory rate?
Yes, sir. Respiratory rate more than 20, sir.
Respiratory rate more than 20. So what kind of respiration will be? What is the normal respiration?
Sir, 16 to 18 is the normal respiratory.
Type of respiration?
Sir, thoracic, sir.
Thoracic abdominal.
Thoracic abdominal, sir.
So in this case, will the character of the respiration change?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what will it become?
Mostly it will become abdominal, sir.
Yes, so it will become abdominothoracic. Right. Anything? Okay. So these are the things, and then we will do a general clinical examination of the operated area, isn't it? So
Yes,
what
sir.
are the things we will look there?
The condition of the wound where the incision has been given. It may be an upper abdominal incision.
Okay, so it's likely that on the third post-operative day, there won't be anything in that area.
Yes, sir.
It's unlikely, isn't it?
But it can be an upper abdominal incision where the patient may be feeling pain when he is breathing.
No, that is okay. But do you feel that on inspection of the wound, you can find anything in the wound that is related to fever on the third post-op day?
Usually not, sir. Usually from the 5 to 7 days, some wound infection.
So unlikely.
Unlikely.
So abdominal findings would not be that very much specific. Just to account for a fever on the third post-operative day until and unless there has been a pre-existing infective pathology which has already been present in that patient from before. Right?
Hmm.
Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Then you need to clinically examine the chest also, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So you need to
Auscultate the chest,
Yes,
see
yes,
whether there is decrease in breath sounds in some area, whether there is any additional sounds, repetitions, or
Okay. So now you have examined, you find that this gentleman, 45-year gentleman, you have examined the abdomen is okay. There is nothing which is which you can correlate with the fever. And what you find on chest auscultation, you find that there is diminished breath sounds in the lower zone. You find some certain crepes there, right? Okay. Now what will you do?
now I will see the drugs that is being given to the patient.
Why do you want to see the drugs that has been given?
Sir, sir, whether it is appropriate or not, whether it
Okay.
some drugs reaction may cause
Okay.
fever in the post-operative period.
Okay, when you say when you think that drugs might cause this fever, can you tell me how do you classify post-operative fever? So post-operative fever may be classified as immediate. Okay.
Immediate,
So
yes, sir.
Immediate.
Immediate,
Next
sir.
is
Then immediate
acute.
fever, acute fever, subacute and delayed fever.
Subacute and delayed fever. Very good. So what are the causes of immediate fever?
Immediate fever. Immediate fever, it may be due to the stress response due to the surgery only.
Okay, first tell me what is the, when do we say that it is an
immediate fever? When fever occurs during the time of operation to POD 0 or 1.
Means within first 24 hours.
Yes.
If within first 24 hours after surgery, if there is any fever, then we say that it is immediate fever. So
yes.
What are the causes of immediate fever?
First is because of the stress response.
Stress response comes on third day, not on first post-op day. Stress-related fever because of sterile aseptic fever is on the third day, not on the first day.
You know why it comes? Why it does come on the third day? Why not on the first day?
Sir, because of the ebb phase and the flow phase.
No, it is not related with the ebb or flow phase. It is purely related to the physiology, right? So the reticular activating system, the RAS, actually it's working there. So that actually fights the stress that the patient has during surgery. Now by the third post-operative day, that fight is over. So now what happens if there is any bacteria or any factors which might cause inflammation, that overpowers the immune system of the body. So then it comes into play. Now, so immediate causes of
it may be, okay, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, it may be intraoperative, maybe a cause of malignant hyperthermia due to the use of the. Yes, sir.
What is malignant hyperthermia?
Sir, it is a high-grade fever more than 40 degrees Celsius due to the use of inhalational anesthetic like halothane or succinylcholine, sir.
Okay. So it is a high-grade fever, which is uh, due to those anesthetic, inhalation anesthetics, right? And also muscle relaxants. Muscle relaxants like Spolin we usually use at induction, or we use halothane. Sometimes we use halothane. Particularly, you should be very careful in children when you are using halothane. They are more prone to development of malignant hyperthermia. Okay. Or sometimes means it's also important that if the relatives of any of these patients have undergone any operation, you should inquire, you should take a good family history before you give these anesthetics or muscle relaxants. So it has got a family history, means sometimes malignant hyperthermia has got some family history. Now, how will you, means, would you like to do any investigations to say that this is malignant hyperthermia?
Usually, yes, sir. ABG will show that some
What will you
metabolic
find in
acidosis.
huh? What? Metabolic?
So, acidosis may be there, sir.
Metabolic acidosis.
Yes, sir.
Why metabolic acidosis?
Sir, due to the lactic acidosis, basically due to anaerobic respiration of the muscles, hyperactivity. So lactic acid ferment, the anaerobic respiration, so lactic acid will go up and so metabolic acidosis. Sir.
Okay. And anything else you will find?
Sir, myoglobinuria may occur.
No. Myoglobinuria. Okay, myoglobinuria can occur, but it's not very much common. The other thing is you need to measure the calcium, right?
Calcium levels, sir. Calcium levels.
So sometimes there is hypercalcium. Okay, so this is one cause of immediate. What are the other causes?
Sir, patient may have some preoperative underlying conditions, like patient may have a UTI, and we have catheterized the patient. So in that
So
case,
that is what I said,
bacteria
if the patient has got anything, any bacteria or any infective focus beforehand, right?
Yes.
And
Yes,
then you intervene in that patient, then the patient can appear. Any
yes, sir.
other
Yes,
causes?
sir, any drug reaction, sir?
Drug reactions. Okay, drug reactions. Okay,
Like
can occur.
for vancomycin, if you give vancomycin, some red man syndrome or like that.
That is means I think in the exams, you don't describe those drugs because those drugs are usually not used in surgical causes immediately in all the patients. Do you give vancomycin to all the patients? No.
No, sir. No, sir.
There is no question of means you don't discuss all these things, but there are more common causes. Like
Sir,
there are some means you have transfused blood.
Yes, sir.
So
non-hemolytic febrile reactions may occur, sir.
Okay, non-hemolytic. That is why I said you exclude myoglobinuria and myoglobinuria means passage of hemoglobin means hematuria and all these things. You try to exclude because these are all non-hemolytic causes. Because to cause hemolytic causes of febrile illness in the post-operative period usually takes some time because the antigen-antibody reaction will occur and then it will.
Yes.
So mainly non-hemolytic transfusion reactions are those which are mainly due to
blood
other products that are there in the blood which might cause. Okay.
So or maybe due to gas gangrene of the wound where we have operated.
Yes, gas gangrene. Okay, yes, it can occur, but that is also I said gas gangrene. I have seen only one patient of gas gangrene. That too when I was a house surgeon. That means about now 20-25 years ago. Now we rarely observe gas gangrene, isn't it?
Okay.
Whatever we observe or we feel like gas gangrene are mainly due to anaerobic streptococci and all those things. Gas gangrene hardly occurs. It's means if you say that gas gangrene has occurred and the whole blame lies on you, isn't it? Because that means you haven't taken adequate measures to operate on that patient. Okay, I accept that in emergency cases sometimes it can occur, but we rarely do find gas gangrene nowadays. Okay, that may be a cause, but that is not one of the commonest causes. Okay, now The next cause of fever, as you said, was acute.
Acute
isn't it?
fever. Yes, sir.
So what is acute fever?
Acute fever occurs on POD 1 to 3, sir.
1 to 7. It is within a week.
Okay. Within a week, sir. Okay, sir. Within a
acute
week. Sir.
fever
Yes,
is
sir.
within a week.
Within a week. Yes, sir.
There were any other non-infective cause of fever in this period? Non-infective cause of fever, which is very important and need to diagnose early. It won't talk of his atelectasis. Apart from that,
So
did you
early
look?
DVT.
Yes. How do you diagnose? What are the symptoms and how do you diagnose?
So patient usually complains of pain in the cuff region,
Yeah.
and there are some tests we do not do those now, like the Homan sign.
Apart from pain, what are the other symptoms?
So
Patient may complain of pain, may complain of swelling in the cuff,
swelling in the cuff.
may complain of appearance of acute varicosity, and if it is of some duration, patient may complain of respiratory distress because of dislodgement of this
emboli into, yes.
Yeah. And then when you examine, don't try to elicit those signs. You should do an inspection and then just
do a
you can at
D-dimer,
least-
sir. Yes, sir.
yeah.
Do a D-dimer.
Okay.
What measures can you take to prevent this DVT?
Sir, I can
These
use
preoperative
stockings.
measures.
Yes, sir. I can use stockings. I have to early mobilize the patient post surgery, and sir, I can use low molecular weight heparin as prophylaxis.
Okay, very good. Now come to the acute fever. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it is within first week, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now
First
tell
week.
me the calendar of the first week. What fever occurs then?
So first occurs atelectasis on the POD 3, sir. 1 to 3.
Yeah.
1 to 3, sir. If it is unresolved, then unresolved atelectasis may lead to pneumonia. Or yes, sir. Then there may be on POD 3 we can have central line or catheter related or thrombophlebitis. We can have that.
When do we have thrombophlebitis?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
On when? On which day?
Sir, starting from POD 3, sir.
4 to 5. 4 to 5 days is after that we usually have thrombophlebitis. Now you said you will see the central line, isn't it? Okay,
Yes, sir.
suppose you find that the central line is the cause, right? So what will you do?
So if we will send the tip of the central line for culture.
How can you send the tip without taking it out? You need to take it out, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you say that first that I'll take the central line out and then I will send the tip of the central line
Yes,
for culture.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And what about peripheral thrombophlebitis? It is fine.
If peripheral thrombophlebitis, for example, due to the IV cannula that we use, the patient hand may be swollen. So in that case, sir, I will omit the IV cannula first, then give Maxal compress or those things that will
What kind of
reduce
fever do you
or
expect?
cold compress.
What kind of fever do you expect in thrombophlebitis?
So high grade fever, sir.
High grade intermittent fever. right?
Intermittent. Yes.
So that is what, and associated with swelling and tenderness in the arm where the IV cannula has been inserted. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now what is the cause on the 7th day?
So 7th day, maybe, sir, pulmonary embolism may occur, sir.
Very good. Pulmonary embolism. So how do you Professor Shah has asked you about that pulmonary embolism. Okay. So what could be the signs and symptoms of that? Just briefly tell me.
Yeah, patient may complain of a pleuritic chest pain. There may be tachypnea, hypoxia, and there may be right heart straining patterns in the ECG. So these signs of.
So these are the signs which we usually find in patients with pulmonary thromboembolism. So if I want to revise the causes of the fever in the first week, that is acute fever, that as we say, then from day 1 to day 3, we usually have atelectasis.
Atelectasis.
From usually, if there is persistence of fever after day 3 to day 5, then it is mainly due to unresolved atelectasis, right? POD5 fever on POD5 and afterwards up to 7, we check for the lines, right? So
Yes, sir.
it's maybe thrombophlebitis.
Yes,
And
sir.
if there is fever, as you said, associated with tachypnea, tachycardia, and there is chest pain, okay, then we consider pulmonary embolism.
Yes.
So these are the causes of acute fever in the first week after operation, right? Okay.
First thing, I think, Dr. Dev, SSI should come. And
So
at
from
5 to 7
10
days,
days. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
5 to 7 days, SSI should come. into
We
picture.
should also, yes, we should also contain SSI. But SSI actually, okay, we should consider, but it usually occurs after the 6th post-operative.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
yeah.
it is within 7 days, so yes, it should come. So that is.
How do you define SSI? How do you define SSI? How do you define SSI?
The exact definition.
Okay. So SSI is defined as is a surgical site infection when this infection occurs within 30 days of the operation. And if you use an implant or maybe a mesh or some metallic implant, then up to 90 days.
90 days.
So this is the definition for surgical site infection. What are the types of surgical site infection? There are 3 different patterns of SSI.
So it may be a superficial infection involving the skin and subcutaneous tissue. It may be deep space infection involving the fascia and the muscles, or it may be an organ space infection. Sir.
Yeah, good.
Okay, very good. So what kind of SSI do you expect in POD 7 or means in the first week?
Sir, it may be a wound dehiscence or maybe wound infection. Sir.
Wound dehiscence or wound infection. Okay. Means we can find just an abscess beneath the skin, or it may be wound dehiscence. What kind of wound dehiscence would cause means fever? But the other type of wound dehiscence, you won't find fever. Here, what kind of wound dehiscence would occur?
Yes, sir, I didn't understand.
Means wound dehiscence associated with fever. How many types of wound dehiscence are there? First, tell me what are the different types of wound. I'll give you. See, it may be complete or it may be incomplete, right? When it is complete, that means all the layers are gone. So you find what is known as burst abdomen.
Yes, sir.
Right. And the other type is where the skin is covered and you find that there is dehiscence of the fascia. Means just beneath the skin. So fever actually is accompanied by those where there is no escape route for the contents to escape out of the abdominal. So in incomplete wound dehiscence, usually it is associated with fever. But when there is complete wound dehiscence, everything comes out, the patient does not have fever.
Okay.
Now did you get my point? Okay. Now tell me the causes of subacute fever. What is first? Tell me the definition. What is subacute fever and when do we have it? And then tell me the cause.
Subacute fever is fever after 1 week of surgery.
Up to?
Sir, 4 weeks, sir. Up to 4 weeks, sir.
So 1 to 4 weeks, then we call it as subacute fever.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what are the causes?
So it may be due to intra-abdominal or pelvic abscess,
Right.
or sir, it may be due to drugs. Sir.
Okay, drugs again. See, for 1 to 4 weeks, fevers associated with drugs, it's okay, it can occur, but we usually, as surgeons, we usually think about deep infections, either in the pelvic or the abdominal side.
Yes, sir.
So these are, so if you, what are the sites you will look for in the abdominal cavity if you think about deep infection?
Okay, sir. Sir, we usually search for places like subhepatic or subphrenic or the pelvic areas, the
Why?
dependent areas, sir.
Yes, so you say that we look for the dependent areas. So dependent areas are mainly the pouch of Douglas. If we look down and if we look up, it is the
Hepatorenal
subhepatic,
pouch of Molson.
subhepatic, hepatorenal pouch of Molson, or sometimes it may be subdiaphragmatic. Okay, okay. Now tell me, what is delayed fever?
In
Ah,
subacute, Dr. Good in
Go ahead.
subacute also catheter-related infection should come. If the patient is continuing on catheter, then there is a still chance that this catheter infection can continue in this period of time. Patient is may long drawn catheter, patient may be on long drawn central line. So catheter infection also may be the DD of a intermediate
Yes, sir.
fever.
Sir, you are absolutely correct. I actually forgot. Means he was telling me about catheter. That should be included in subacute fever. Okay. In acute, delayed means late phase of acute and subacute fevers, catheter-related complications will come.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So that needs to be checked. Now, what will you see in the catheter? How will
So
suppose
whether
you
it is
see-
blocked or not,
Okay.
for
Block
central,
if the catheter is blocked, the patient will have symptoms which are different from fever. Okay. Do you agree with me?
uh,
Block
yes, sir.
is something like retention, isn't it?
Yes,
So
sir.
if the patient is having retention, patient will have different complaints.
So you may have pericatheter signs of inflammation. If you have an IV line, you can find that around the IV line there is swelling, there is
Yes,
redness.
sir. Redness.
You have a central line around the pericatheter, you can
There is
find there is signs of
yes,
inflammation in the
cellulitis.
skin.
Yes, sir.
If you have a catheter in the urinary tract, you can find there is might be some purulent discharge around the catheter. So there may be some findings around the catheter.
Okay.
And then
On the drainage stream, you will see the urine will become blurred. Okay.
Urine will become, yes, sir.
Blood.
Turbid urine, sir.
Yeah. Patient will complain of anorexia. Okay. And then you will find, as sir said, by the side of the catheter, you will find a bit of pus coming out. So these usually indicate, along with fevers with chills and rigors. So
Yes, sir.
these usually indicate that the patient is having an weak. Okay. Now, what are the causes of delayed fever? When do we say it is a delayed fever?
A delayed fever occurs after 4 weeks of any surgery,
Okay, right?
or it may be due to soft tissue skin infections or viral infections, sir.
Okay. It may be due to soft tissue infections or viral infections. Okay. Now, suppose if I ask you about the pathophysiology of the postoperative fever, how do we classify pathophysiologically postoperative fever?
So whenever we are doing a surgery, the local site there is the inflammatory response starts at the local site of incision, and the cytokines are released. The cytokines, the most commonly the IL, interleukin 1, 6, and these cytokines act on the anterior hypothalamus, leading to pyrexia.
So this is the initial phase, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So this is also known as what? As we said previously, this is known as SIRS.
SIRS.
Systemic inflammatory response.
Yes, sir.
So if you look at the means I told you, or you only said about the criteria of SIRS, isn't it? You
Yes,
told
sir.
me about temperature, you told me about respiratory rate, you told me about tachycardia or heart rate. Okay. What is the
And
other thing you missed? Means that was not in the clinical examination. That is a
it's
part
a
of
blood.
the laboratory.
Yes, sir. So the total WBC count is more than 12,000 or less than 4,000, sir.
Okay. So why do you say less than 4,000?
Sir, in sepsis, sir,
What
in
kind
severe
of sepsis?
severe sepsis, sir.
What do you
Or
call it?
uh,
What are the different types of septic shock? One is warm septic shock and the other is cold septic.
cold septic, sir. The cold in cold septic shock, sir.
So when the body is fighting with the infection, then we have warm septic shock. When the body is exhausted, cannot fight any further, then we have cold septic.
Cold septic.
Okay. So these are actually the criteria for labeling the patient as to having systemic inflammatory response syndrome. Okay, so any of means of the above means the criteria that you have said, any two, if any two is present, then we say it is SIRS.
SIRS positive.
Okay.
Yes.
And then when we say it is systemic inflammatory response can give rise to fever, but that does not mean that the patient is having sepsis or not, isn't it? So when we level the patient as septic, means the patient is having sepsis.
For that, we have a SOFA score, sir.
No, before the simple.
Okay.
Sepsis means what?
With hypotension, with hypotension.
Plus a documented source of infection.
Source of infection, documented source of
Okay,
infection.
need not go for SOFA scoring to say sepsis.
Okay.
It's SARS plus a documented site of infection. What is severe sepsis?
Severe sepsis, when there is associated organ damage, sir.
Organ damage, no? It's what?
Dysfunction.
Some features of organ dysfunction.
Dysfunction. Yes.
Which organ dysfunction will you consider most in case of surgical patient?
Renal dysfunction, sir.
Renal dysfunction. What renal dysfunction?
Sir, oliguria occurs, creatinine goes high, sir.
Oliguria occurs.
Creatinine goes high. There is acute tubular necrosis.
No, does all the patients have acute tubular necrosis?
No, sir. Ultimately, may have.
May have
It's
acute
not.
tubular,
Yes.
but it is not. Means what happens there? The bacteria actually, yes, it causes some damage to the inflammatory damage to the filtration membrane.
Yes.
Right. So what
Yes.
will you find? What will you find in these patients?
They will have oliguria, sir.
Would you like to do a urine examination? Would you like to find something? No. See, organ damage is not always associated with oliguria. The patient might have polyuria also. Means the patient can pass excessive urine also. It's not that the patient is going to have oliguria. Most of the time they have oliguria if it is associated with what? With
High creatinine values.
Hypovolemia.
Hypovolemia, exactly.
There is volume depletion is there, then the patient can have oliguria. But sometimes without, in the initial phases, you don't have oliguria. Oliguria is occurs when there is severe sepsis.
Yes, sir. The third space loss occurs, then
Yeah.
it comes in.
So, what is the thing that you are going to see apart in the urine? Would you like to do a urine examination?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What are the things you will look for?
I will see if there is albumin in the urine.
Very
I
good. So, albuminuria means and hematuria.
Hematuria.
Okay, so these two things and associated with bacteria.
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 Yes.
Means there will be presence of organisms.
Bacteria in urine. Yes.
Okay. And when you say the patient has gone into septic shock?
Sir, when there is hypotension, which does not get cured with IV fluid, sir. We have to give vasopressors for that.
Refractory to usual volume replacement.
So when the patient has gone into severe refractory hypotension, if the patient cannot be resuscitated with any other fluid, right? So now tell me, when you suppose so these are the main causes what we have discussed till now. Now you have gone to the bedside. So quickly tell me what are the things you are going to evaluate in a patient with a post-operative fever.
Sir, I will first see the airway, breathing, circulation, the type of surgery done, the type of wound, the drugs that is being given to the patient, the condition of the wound. I will check for any other skin infection, like if there is a bed sore or not. I will
examination of the patient as a whole.
Yes.
Okay, then what else?
Then I will do some lab investigations, sir.
So clinically, anything else you want to say? Since you have examined the patient, you will ask, like to, if you are a consultant or you are going for rounds with the sister, anything else you would like to ask the sister?
It's the total urine output,
So intake output
input,
chart
output.
has to,
Yes, sir.
so that has to be noted, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then you need to revise, you need to see the DHT as to what drugs have been given. Okay. Then what are the type of fluid that the patient has been ordered.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
these have to be checked. Okay. Then what else? Then you would suggest for certain investigations, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
what
And Devayan, and in a patient who has got a GI anastomosis, one important thing one should keep in mind that whether this patient has got any evidence of anastomotic leak, because that is one of the important cause of fever, and the complications out of the leak can lead to the fever and other complications. So that is another specific entity you should keep in mind who has underwent a gut resection anastomosis.
Yes, sir.
Apart from the other causes of fever, anastomotic leak is one clinical entity you should keep in mind.
Yes, sir. So we will have drains probably in the abdomen. So drain output we will see in the
Yeah.
round, sir.
Drains will means first the gut is going to leak, isn't it? Now, usually if it leaks after 7 to 8 days, sometimes you'll find
Drain might get blocked.
not function. Okay.
So drain is not the only guide. You should have other features. Suppose what are the things in your mind to suspect patient has got an anastomotic leak on third or fourth post-op day?
So there will be signs of peritonitis.
What symptom patient may have?
So patient will have fever. IPS may be negative, sir.
What about
then
pain?
Abdomen.
What about pain?
There will, yes,
What about
there
pain?
will, yes, sir. There will be pain. Abdomen will be swollen. And
How do you specify that pain? Patient has got a incision in the abdomen, will have pain.
Yes,
And
sir.
patient has got an anastomotic leak, will have pain. How do you differentiate these two pain? Will it be same like a post-op incisional pain?
No, sir. No, sir.
So this pain will be more initially confined to the site, and then this
Then
pain will become
generalized towards
generalized.
the abdomen. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Generalized
So
towards
this
the
is not like a just usual post-op pain. So you have pain which is might be aggravated on third or fourth post-op day. And then apart from the pain,
abdomen will
patient may
be swollen up, rigid,
yes, distended
tender.
abdomen,
Yes,
patient may have ileus,
Hmm.
patient may have features of other features of sepsis.
Yes.
Okay, and then you examine the abdomen. You have systemic abdominal examination. What do you suspect that yes, this patient might have a leak?
Uh,
On third post-op day, what do you expect in a patient who has got a hemicolectomy? Abdomen should be
soft abdomen. Ideally, it should be
soft. IPS
Yes.
should return by third
Yes,
day.
sir. Yes,
So
sir.
if you have an anastomotic leak, this leak may be confined to the local site, or this leak might have caused a generalized peritonitis.
Generalized peritonitis. Yes, sir.
So the signs will be what?
Sir,
Signs will be tenderness,
tenderness. Exactly.
and patient may
Tenderness.
have rebound tenderness. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you should keep in mind the anastomotic leak.
See, usually this all-round question is usually given in the exam because see, they have given right hemicolectomy, isn't it? So it carries features, means it's a borderline, right? So it will have features of small bowel leak also and features of large bowel leak also.
Yes, sir.
So when you encounter, because straightway if it is a small bowel leak, symptoms are a bit different from that of a large bowel. So in a small bowel leak, drains do certainly have a role because they give us a cue. But for large bowel leaks, usually drains have got minimal. So this is a borderline zone which has been given. So this is actually the type of thing you must know what are the features or the causes of or the type of fever. Fever usually occurs late in cases of small bowel. Okay. But
5 to 7 days, sir.
usually it occurs early, means early in case of large bowel because the large bowel usually contains all the bacteria.
More bacteria, more bacteria.
Now, Devan, can you tell me some causes of, means these are the post-operative fever, isn't it? So sometimes we also encounter fever in patients who are coming to the OPD or in the pre-operative stage. So I want to know only the surgical causes. Can you tell me some surgical causes, which you have usually seen while sitting in the OP?
Okay, some acute inflammatory cause. in OPD, acute cholecystitis or acute appendicitis, these patients.
Very good. So patients presenting with acute abdomen or acute inflammation like abscess,
Yes,
right? So
Yes, sir.
perianal abscess,
Abscess.
breast abscess, stomach, okay, axillary abscess, infected sebaceous cyst. So this is one group of patients. Okay, so you can divide it into acute abdominal causes and acute non-abdominal.
No.
So
That's
okay,
it.
this one. Okay, one. Right? So here in these patients, you will find patients coming with fevers with chills and dryness.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and if it is an abdominal cause with signs of peritonitis.
Yes, sir.
Right. Any other causes?
Sir, there may be patient may come with low-grade fever like TB lymph node in the neck. They can complain of a long-standing low-grade fever, or swelling in the inguinal region. They can come with lymphoma, and they can complain of low-grade fever for a very long duration, sir.
Suppose they are coming with a lymph nodal swelling and you diagnose it as a case of lymphoma. What other things will you ask for in that patient clinically before you go in for a biopsy?
Duration of the fever, whether it's high grade or low grade, whether even during
it's low
evening.
grade, isn't it? It's not
Yes,
high
sir.
grade.
Yes, sir.
So
It's low grade during evenings with evening sweats.
you have heard the name of B symptoms, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
B symptoms have you heard? Fever,
Yes,
night sweats,
night sweat,
weight loss. So
Weight loss.
these are found, though it is also found in patients with tuberculosis also, but when it goes more with lymphomas, right? Now,
Yes,
suppose the patient has come to you, I will tell you about a gray zone, right? The patient has come to you with an acute abdomen. You find that yes, he is having acute abdomen, and the patient is having a low-grade fever since last 15-20 days before the onset of pain abdomen. So, what do you suspect?
Okay. It may be ileocecal tuberculosis or abdominal tuberculosis, which has
apart from tuberculosis, which is more common. And you need
so
to,
patient,
after you examine the patient, you find that the abdomen is distended, there is total paralytic ileus, the pulse is, patient is having a bradycardia, okay, the patient is a bit emaciated also, exhausted also. You need to admit the patient.
Sir, it may be a carcinoma, maybe.
No, not a carcinoma. I'm not sure. Why do you think about bad omens first? Think about good things. No? Okay. Can it be a typhoid fever?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Typhoid fever with a typhoid perforation. Yeah. The patient has come with it.
That is one thing you should keep in mind.
Devayan, if I come back to this patient, suppose you have examined the patient, you have taken the history, you have done an examination, and you cannot find a definite cause of fever in this patient. So what should be your line of investigation? What investigation order for this patient where you cannot have an explanation for this fever?
Yes, sir. So first I will do some blood investigations.
Like?
I will complete blood count, CRP. Yes, sir. These investigations. We will do a urine culture. We will, if say the patient, if he is say intubated, then I will do a culture from the endotracheal tube. Then I will do a blood culture.
Yes.
Yeah. So these things I will do. I will do a chest X-ray, ECG, a chest X-ray to see the condition of the chest.
Yeah. So this is a basic septic screening.
Yes, sir.
This is basic septic screening you should do. And then if you suspect that patient has hemicolectomy, you can go for an ultrasound abdomen also to look for any intravenous collection. Yes. So these are the basic septic screening for a patient. And based on this, you can think if the report came as positive, and then you decide accordingly.
Yes, sir.
So these are basic investigation you do. Suppose this patient has got a evidence of deep fascial infection. Patient is very toxic and you find there is induration and extreme tenderness, how will you
Yes, sir.
treat this patient? You
Sir, I
suspect
will-
the patient has got a deep tissue space infection in the form of necrotizing fasciitis.
Okay, sir. Sir, if it's a necrotizing fasciitis, we will just open up the wound, do explore it, sir. Explore it. If there is an
What is it called?
associated
Is it called as exploration of the wound or something else?
It has got a name, isn't it?
fasciotomy, sir.
It should be a debridement.
Depression.
Once you have necrotizing fasciitis, that means there is necrosis of the underlying deep fascia and the muscles.
Yes,
So
sir.
these patients should be, number one, resuscitated,
Research.
and second is you should give the patient empirical antibiotics and then go for early surgical debridement.
Depression.
Okay, so that is a treatment for a necrotizing fasciitis.
Yes.
If it is a simple stitch abscess, you
Okay.
find there is a pus point in one stitch, do you stamp this as SSI?
No, sir. No, sir.
No. So a simple pus point in one stitch does not qualify this patient to be stamped as SSI. You have a deep tissue infection, patient has got anastomotic leak, there is feculent discharge to the wound. How do you manage?
If it is localized, the patient may have signs of peritonitis, may not have signs of peritonitis.
Yeah.
If it's a controlled fistula, then we will observe, we will enhance the nutritional status of the patient, and we will wait for the fistula to close by itself after proper correction of the albumin base. And but if there is signs of peritonitis, then in that case we will have to.
Yeah, good. Okay,
So
Dr.
that is known
Dr.
as SNAP, isn't it? So when we have a controlled fistula, the way we actually manage is known as SNAP, S-N-A-P.
Control sepsis,
Sepsis,
manage nutrition, do
and
anatomical
start-
delineation of the fistula, and plan for definitive
And,
management. Okay.
Okay. Makunda, I think.
Yeah. Yes, a good discussion. You answered well also. Dr. Maiti, are you online? Dr. Maiti has probably left. Okay. Any question from any of the participants? So this is a very common ward-round scenario. So your approach should be very good. That means once you are asked such scenario, don't jump to investigation. Always keep in mind that you are going to assess the patient by taking a detailed history, because you are given only one symptom, fever, and nothing else has been told. So your job will be to take a detailed history, elaborate the fever, take other systemic symptoms, then do a good clinical examination, starting from head to foot examination, including the IV lines and the local site. And next is third post-op day, patient has got a chart in the bedside. You should review the chart. What is happening for last 3 days? And then plan investigation based on the findings you got on history and clinical examination. And the management definitely depend on the diagnosis. So that should, for any ward-round scenario, don't jump to investigation. Always approach the patient with history, a good clinical examination, and then relevant investigations. Okay. So, Dr. Dey, anything to add?
No, sir. I think Devan has answered nicely. He has come prepared.
Thank you, sir.
It was a very good discussion. I think these are the common scenarios means about fever. Usually these are asked in the examination. It is not very difficult, but it's only practice. Whatever you have said, you need to apply those when you go for the ward round. And then you can, there's no need of reading also, you can just get into the habit of it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Dr. Dey. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you very much.